Good morning, good afternoon. Real quick overview of our company. I guess first off, my name is Michael White. I'm a principal with Consulting for CRM, and we're a Microsoft product and services company. Our professional CRM product is based upon Microsoft CRM, having great success, and is really dramatically changing the success our clients are having, enabling user adoption and meeting their CRM goals. We have a very unique approach, very unique product. If you're interested in hearing more about it, please contact us for additional information. We're delighted to have Deborah Baker of Law Leaders Lab presenting her webinar series, and this is the second session in the three-part series. Deb's going to quickly review kind of key points from the last webinar. This session is how to leverage intelligence to nurture your critical conversations. That was kind of the foundation from last session, is starting those conversations. Now it's how to extend them. For those of you in attendance today, we will distribute again the webinar recording from the last session and make this session available to you as well. About Deborah Baker, more than 20 years experience working throughout the legal industry. I've worked with Deborah in the past where she was at 2 AM 100 firms where we revived failed CRM implementations. She has a very unique style, and the way she works with the lawyers is pretty remarkable. You can go to her website and get some additional information. So without further ado, Deborah, take it away.
Great, thank you, Michael. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. As Michael said, my name is Deborah Baker. I'm CEO of Law Leaders Lab. Our company is really built on the foundation that the way most law firms are running their business today is not sustainable in the long term. So our goal is to work with lawyers to help them rethink the way they create, deliver, and communicate value to clients. And our core competency in that area is really the marketing and business development realm, because that's where the lowest hanging fruit is. And the more we can do to help connect your marketing activities to your sales activities, the greater return on investment you're going to see, and you're going to have those direct results that can help you then go deeper into your organization and make longer-term changes. So this topic today of insight-driven marketing, it really goes to the heart of some of the changes that are going on in the marketplace today. So what we're going to talk about is, what do we mean by insight, and how can we use it to create marketing programs that aren't just raising awareness about who you are, but they're really driving you toward business development conversations. So again, kind of linking that, getting the marketing function much closer to actual revenue generation. I would think for the starting point for these conversations should be based on fact and on science. And I think a lot of us in marketing, particularly in the legal industry, there's this perception that marketing is a creative function, or it's a reactive or a service function of the organization, when in fact marketing is a formal business discipline, and it should be treated just like any other discipline inside the organization. And there should be data around the reasons that we do things. So we talked about this at the last program, and went into much more detail about relationships and some of the drivers of change in relationships. But it's important to today's conversation, so I wanted to just talk about 3 factors that are completely changing the way we are building relationships in marketing professional services organizations. The first one is time, and I don't think it takes a lot of statistical evidence to demonstrate that we all just have too much going on in our lives. So both as lawyers, as producers and business developers, as people who have family lives, who are balancing work and family, whether you're a marketing professional or an attorney, We've got so much information coming at us. We have so many demands on our time. And it's not just us, but it's also our clients. So finding face-to-face time is really difficult. I think the second factor is risk. Particularly since the financial crisis, we're all a lot more weary of making big-ticket decisions. And legal services are very expensive. And there was a time, particularly with middle-market clients, where you had your go-to relationship person, and if that person wanted to hire you, you were going to get hired. Now what we're seeing is there's a lot more consensus-driven business processes, even with mid-sized companies. So the CEO or the in-house general counsel may say, you're our guy, you're our gal, but they're still going to want to vet you with other people inside the organization. So you have to, you can't have that much face time with each and every person. So that's where marketing comes in. So how you're communicating your value when you aren't face-to-face becomes very important. And then the third factor is technology. Corporate Executive Board and Google did a study of decision-making, and what they found for business-to-business sales of complex sales was that decision makers are more than 50% through the decision-making process before they have that first conversation with clients. So again, if you are not, if you don't have a message that's out there when you aren't face-to-face, you're really leaving business at the door. So that's kind of the foundation of where we start from, the idea that business development as usual is costly. It's harder to get those face-to-face meetings. If your online presence isn't very strong, your referrals may not be, you may be getting referred business, but you're not getting the phone calls. You may be getting FaceTime with clients, prospective clients, but maybe those meetings aren't generating business. And the business that you're getting is matters are increasingly smaller, and they're increasingly price sensitive. So the first program that we talked about is how do we get to, what do we do in those face-to-face situations? And we talked about listening to give, bringing a strategic perspective to the conversation, creating a business case as to why clients should hire you over anyone else. So again, I'd encourage you to go back if you weren't able to participate in the first session. Today, we're going to kind of go to the top of this list and really focus on what can we do, knowing that it's harder to get face-to-face meetings, knowing that we've got to be out there sending a clear message about what we do in order to make sure we get those phone calls. And so that's where we're going to start. And my premise for this is the idea that we as marketing people have been selling since the internet started to control all of our lives. This idea that content is king. I think that that's a myth in the professional, particularly in the professional services world, because all content is not created equal. And in this era where we've got all of this inundation of information coming at us, there's too much content out there. So content, maybe it is incredibly valuable, but it is not all created equally. So let's talk about what I mean by that. And as an initial point, let's understand what content is. So if you think about content in a broad sphere, or I like to think about it as my brain, the very outermost layer of content is promotional material, right? And as lawyers, we tend to do this part very well. Promoting yourself is very much about awareness. It explains to the public who you are. It explains what you do. Again, it's very you-focused. And the purpose of it is to let people know you exist and make people, get memorability and be seen in the marketplace. So it's important, but it's very superficial on the outer face. If we peel back that layer of the promotional, so it's not just about me. There's certainly ways, and just to clarify on the promotional, there's certainly ways to make that promotional piece more effective. But it really is about you. The next layer underneath is more about providing value to your audience that you're trying to reach. And that's where we get into this idea of news. And again, I think as law firms in general and as lawyers, we've done a good job of this. These are things like your client alerts and new laws that have been passed. It gives you credibility that you understand what you do and the market that you reach, and you're providing something that's valuable. If an important decision came down that your clients need to know about, you should be communicating that to your clients. It's value add. The challenge with news is that on one sense, if you go Google new case alert and your firm's case alert comes to the top of the Google Analytics, very challenging to do, but if you can do that, there's some value, right? The other side of that is that if, again, thinking about this inundation of information that we have, if you're sending a news alert to a group of clients, and that client goes into their email, and there's 5 news alerts from 5 different firms that all say almost exactly the same thing, you haven't created news. What you've created is noise. And that can actually be an irritant to clients. So we have to be very, very careful if we're just repeating something and putting something out into the world that already exists. Is that valuable? And quite frankly, is it a good use of your time? Are you going to get the bang for your buck on that? So again, it's not that it's bad. It's a second layer, and there's more valuable content that you can create. That next layer is what we call thought leadership. And that's where you're bringing new information into the market, that you are becoming the expert, and you have insights that other people don't have, and it really shows that you're relevant, that people want to know what you're talking about. They want to hear what you have to say because it's new information. So the purpose is to educate clients about not just legal issues, but about business issues that they didn't previously know about. This is where we start to get to the higher level of quality of insight. What you have to be very careful with when you're thinking about it from a business development standpoint is if you are raising an issue that is incredibly valuable and maybe is even creating an urgency for clients to have conversations about whether they need to hire someone to help them with that issue. If you don't have a clear end game with that, you may be identifying a problem that many people can solve, that not only you can solve, but any lawyer that practices in that area can solve. So your content may be valuable, but you could indirectly be driving them to a competitor. So that's, again, very valuable. It's definitely moving to that deeper layer, but you want to be careful. Where the greatest opportunity exists is in this core area, this business insight, where not only are you providing your audience information that educates them about business issues they didn't previously know about, it leads to a solution that only you can solve. So it might be a unique proprietary approach to solving that problem that other lawyers aren't providing. Usually these things, I like to say, they happen at the intersection of business and law because that line is increasingly blurred every. This is an easy thing to do, and we're certainly not going to say, okay, how are we going to figure out what that business insight is, in a 20-minute webinar. But I want to get you to start thinking that way, to find ways that you can bring something new to the market based on your unique experience, and at the same time create and use that insight to create urgency, not for prospective clients to call anyone, but for them to call you directly. So we're going to talk about a couple factors that can help you at least start driving these conversations inside your organization. The first set of that is, again, let's look at some data. What content is it that your clients are really looking for? And this list, I've mentioned this study several times now, but that was done by Corporate Executive Board. This is a list of feedback that Corporate Executive Board got from decision makers of business-to-business sales organizations, the end customers, of what they call complex sales. So not necessarily legal alone, although legal certainly would fall into this category. And what they learned from these clients that they interviewed was that they're looking for very specific things when making decisions about what they want to, what service provider they're going to use. They're looking for unique perspectives on the market, not demonstrating that you know everything it is about your client's business, but what unique perspective based on your own experience can you bring to their industry, to their specific company. They need help navigating alternatives. Again, with this overload of information that we all have, people don't need to know what, people are more educated about what the problem is that they're trying to solve. But what they don't know is what, with all of these different choices out there, what is best for them. I always use the diet analogy. There's so many diets out there. At the end of the day, we need to exercise more and eat less. But what diet for you, whether it's the Atkins or the South Beach or paleo or gluten-free, I think I've done them all personally, but which one is best for you? If you apply that to the sales realm, it's helping me navigate the alternatives. Which one, based on my personal situation, is best for me? So any kind of content that helps people do that is important. How can you help them avoid landmines? What ongoing advice can you offer about their particular area? What new issues? Not just here's the decision that came down. How does this decision impact me? What decisions what do I need to think about inside my business because of this decision that came out? So that's really taking that news and taking it to the next level and showing what the impact and what the outcome on your prospective clients would be. And then this idea of making it easy to get widespread support across the organization is really important. And again, if you're creating content, maybe you have a great referral source and a great connection, but if that person wants to build a consensus inside the organization, it's their content that your key source can circulate to his or her peers to help build your credibility. So again, content can help build that widespread support. So where do we start with this? Again, these aren't easy questions to answer. The process, we at Law Leaders Lab take clients through a process, and it does take time, and you kind of need to, over time, identify the areas that you can bring business insight. And we work through a particular methodology with that. But I think that you can start having those organizations, whether you're a solo attorney, whether you're running a marketing department or overseeing a practice group or leading an entire firm, to start having these conversations. So this slide is really a basic framework for you to think about. What is the problem that your clients face right now? Not legal issues, but what are the business challenges? What are the impacts of the problem on your client's business? Not just what's keeping me up at night, but what are the potential ramifications down the line for your businesses? What do clients need to solve the problem? and what is your proprietary solution to get to this? And again, this seems like a basic framework, but you need to think about peeling back the layers of the onion. I frequently talk to attorneys who, you ask the question, where do you get business from? And they say, well, all my business is from referrals. Well, why do people refer you? So, okay, what's the reason people refer you business? And they'll say, I don't know. I think it's just because of me. So that's the short answer. You could stop having the conversation, or you could take that inquiry a step farther. And, what type of work do you do? Tell me about some, think about some of the matters that you've handled. What was it that, what was the rock star insight that really, hinged on that particular matter? And invariably, attorneys start to think about that, and they'll start talking about 4 or 5 examples of different things they've done. And just with that short conversation alone, think about, wow, based on what you're telling me, you know more about your client's business probably than, more about that particular aspect and the impact of the client's business probably than that client did at that time. And they say, yeah, you're right, that's true. So that's the kernel, that's the nugget, that's where you want to start. And from there, start building out processes and uncovering data inside your firm to help you do this. There's a major technology integration here because a really strong CRM system, and one of the reasons I really enjoy partnering with Michael and his team is because a strong, robust CRM system can help you capture this type of insight, and it's going to help you build a really powerful marketing program. So really quickly, I just want to give an example of, just putting this together because I know it's hard, especially when we can't have a real interactive conversation to kind of connect the dots on these things. So I want to give you a quick example. And this is a solo attorney, so this is not a giant organization who's been able to do something really effectively. Susan is a patent prosecutor. So for those of you in the IP space, highly commoditized business, highly competitive, very difficult to stand out in the market. Now she happens to be a scientist. She has a background in biofuels. She's worked with startups, she's been in startups, she's been in research facilities. So she brings some business insight to the table already. And through that experience, she really understands and has seen firsthand some key issues where startups in this space fall flat on their heels. They're all related to intellectual property and how they've managed intellectual property, but they fail because of business reasons. So without going into the details of her secret sauce, she's essentially built a strategic planning model in which she goes and works with the business units, the business leaders, to understand the growth of intellectual property in their business. She has a process for doing that helps them pinpoint issues. And then she does that at a flat rate. No one else is offering it on the market. No one else actually could because of her unique experience. She can solve, she has built this model. It's unique to her. Ultimately, the reason she does that at a flat rate. It's a nice revenue stream, but it's not a core revenue stream. Her core revenue stream is the underlying patent work. But because she gets in at the front end, she's automatically allowed, she is almost automatically hired for the underlying patent work. And so that's her strategy. She's developed a content program, the marketing piece of this, that supports that. Now, she could do thought leadership. She could do news releases. All of those would be good marketing things to do. But what she's done is created a content program that leads to her unique solution. So it provides something valuable to the recipient. It does all the great marketing things. And again, a good CRM system can help make this a seamless process. But it drives recipients to the site. It helps measure engagement. It brands, but it doesn't necessarily promote. But what she's doing is with each newsletter, she's addressing a business problem, she's talking about the underlying legal implications, and then she talks about how the integration of those, at the conclusion, she's talked about the integration of strategy and legal can help solve this problem. And then ultimately, one paragraph at the very end that says, I have a unique, I'm paraphrasing, I have a unique proprietary solution to this. If you are interested, please call me. So there's that call to action at the end of it without in any way diluting the actual content of that piece. So if you go back to this list, you can see what she's doing. It's a unique perspective on the market. It's helping avoid landmines. She's doing it in a consistent and ongoing way. She's educating on issues and outcomes, and she's creating some content that can help her clients build support for engaging her across the organization, because she's making it very easy. It's not a pitch deck. It's like, here's some valuable information you in the marketing department, or you in the R&D department, or you in the finance department might want to think about as it relates to IP. So again, we're coming real close to the end of our time, and I want to save some time for questions if there are any. But see, this is our approach, but I think it's valuable for you to take back is this: begin with the end. If you can really focus on what is that business insight we have inside our firm, and then start build that business case, and then create your content approach around it, you're really going to start to take those first steps toward aligning marketing with the end game, which is revenue generation. So thank you for your time. I think Michael is collecting questions if there are any. Here is my contact information and Michael's contact information. We've just put out this research report on how business executives are changing the way, what drives and how they're defining value of legal services. So if that's of interest to anyone, please sign up for my website. We're going to start distributing that research starting next week, we hope. So thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Yeah, and there are a few questions. I'm going to paraphrase this one. How do you cut to the? I mean, how do you cut to the chase with the lawyers to get them to stop talking about the legal issues and talk about the business issues?
Yeah, it's definitely a mindset shift that you want to make with that. And I always, I try to keep it really, really practical, and just ask that second layer of question, which is, oh wow, that's a great resolution that you got there. What did the client, what did the client say about that? Who was involved? What business, who was involved in that? Was it the operations group, or was it the development team, or was it the marketing group? And just kind of, again, peel back that layer. So if you ask the lawyer the question directly, that might not commute to them, but if you ask them what other people said about it, you might be able to get there.
One of the attendees would like to see that last slide, the opportunity mapping slide, again.
This one?
Yeah. And this is kind of the guts of it.
Yeah, this is really the framework of our approach. One of the things we've tried to do, and I think it's applicable if you're in a marketing department now, you can't solve everything in one day. So if you start with the opportunity mapping piece, that gets to, that starts to close in the conversation, and that's, I think that's the lowest hanging fruit. Then you can kind of move into, okay, how do we take, we're really good at this, and narrow the competition to eliminating the competition. And that's where you get into these differentiation strategies. And again, we've got a methodology for this piece. And then with those two pieces, building the business case, you've got the fundamentals for doing that. And then at the end, now it's about execution, right? But if you start with the 4-point performance plan and you're just regurgitating, if you're using news as opposed to insight, the value is going to be a lot lower.
And I'm going to take this one from the kind of the gratuitous plug around a CRM system. Back on slide 8, you talk about the, back, I think it's slide 8. Yeah. Relevancy and leads to need. You mentioned several times the, concern about you may just be promoting another person's business. But that's where a very effective use of a CRM system allows you to not have, a shotgun effect, but you can be very, very focused around your insight, so that you're targeting the right people that are going to, potentially lead to need. So that's my gratuitous plug.
Well, and it's not that gratuitous, though. I mean, I think the idea of segmenting your market is so important, and that opportunity mapping slide is really, we call it persona development, and I know the marketing people on the call will understand what that is, but it's really about profiling your target audience. So, again, you can do all of that work, and it's a lot of work, but if you're building it in a system that is going to make you be able to search and filter and really pinpoint that group of people, it's so powerful. And again, I think the marketing people understand this, but for the lawyers who are on the call, we get this idea that the more people we can touch, the better, when in reality, if we can touch a smaller group of people, but it's that business insight and your overall reach and what's going to lead to revenue is so much greater. So I think it's a really good point.
Deborah, thank you so much. Everyone in attendance, thank you. We will publish the recording, and we'll get you signed up for the final session of the series that's happening in 2 weeks. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you.